Well, howdy, folks, and welcome to another edition of Hump On Ones. I am pleasurized to be joined this afternoon by Fantasy Labs and Action Network's Mr. Ian Hartitz. He call him Tits if you want. That sounds kind of funny to me, but hey, man, if he asks, he shall receive. Now, I'd like to bring in Mr. Ian. Say hello to the people.
Hump, man. Thanks for having me on. Hello to all the loyal listeners.
I am very much likifying your fancy sweatshirt. That's like one of them ugly Christmas sweatshirts, is it not?
Mm-hmm. It's Merry Xmas from Des Bryant back in the good days when he was scoring touchdowns and bringing cheer to fantasy owners everywhere. So I like to live in the past a little bit.
Oh, man, I didn't catch the Des link there, man. That is fly. You're looking fresh, Ian. I love it, man.
You look even better in that Hawaiian shirt, Hump.
Hey, that's how Hump.
We got polar opposites going on right now.
That's how Hump rolls, man. Mele Kaliki Maka. That's the thing to say. Hey, man, why don't you tell the people how you got started at Fantasy Labs and onto the Action Network? Now, as Hump kind of understandifies it, you were in college and you know, Mr. Bales, Jonathan Bales, that he was writing all them books, fantasy football for smart people, dumb people, something like that. And you reach out to him and told him you would do some research for him. And then all of a sudden, man, you hit it big. Why don't you tell the people how that happened?
Yeah, man. So I was just a sophomore in college. I just finished playing football myself that previous fall. Got hit in the head one too many times, too many concussions. You know, white slow boy like me ain't making the NFL anyway. So I was just looking for another way to keep following football because I just love the sport since I was a kid. Was on Twitter one night and I saw Jonathan Bales, who at that time I followed for his Dallas Cowboys takes. But yeah, he just mentioned he was looking for professional fantasy football writers to help him out. And I emailed him and said, hey, man, I'm none of those things, but I love football and I'd love to send you research for free if you want to, write about it and kind of leverage that. All I'm asking for is kind of a chance. He was happy enough to give me one. Basically, did a year or so of some free work for him. After that, he was able to get me some writing opportunities, just really tried to never say no to anything. And, I was lucky enough after, I'd say 4-5 year relationship. I was about a year out of college into my consulting job and had an opening open up at Labs to run their NFL department that, I was very happy to kind of take a brief pay cut and kind of take on, dive into the fantasy sports world instead of the business world, which really just wasn't for me, from my experience. And, 2.5 years later, it's the happiest I've ever been, best decision I've ever made. So very happy with Fantasy Labs and Jonathan Bales for changing my life for the better.
Thanks, man. You was like a visionary, man, seeing things before they were even happening. Now, let me ask you this. I believe you went to the University of Chicago. That's what the internet tells me, at least. Is that true?
That's correct. You shy. Go Maroons.
Right. Now, what position did you play in college, sir?
Linebacker, baby. It's all about the defense. All these fantasy players want to talk about is offense, but I like hitting people. There's no better feeling than, kind of knocking someone on their ass and getting to stand over them for a sec, so.
I like it, man. I like it. Now, did you play in a 3-4 setup or a 4-3?
We were 4-3. We kind of had our Sam, we call him Snake linebacker, was out a little more as a nickel back. So it was kind of basically me and one other dude in the box to deal with those big uglies. But man, football and especially D3, all these guys want to do is run spread offenses these days. I enjoyed the high school game, and I was facing flex bones and these options every other week, and it was more about just taking on that big fullback. I was never quick enough to get out there in space and cover like some of these monsters we see.
That is good stuff, man. Now, you mentioned getting in touch with Mr. Bales on a tweeter machine, and Hump has noticed that you are like a prolific tweeter of things, and you are also quite possibly one of the few people that Hump knows that has had a Twitter account suspended or banned. Can you walk us through kind of what happened, why that happened, and why you had to have a brief burner account for a short period of time?
Oh yeah, I had that burner account for about 6 hours. So I was really into post. I haven't posted much video during the season, but whole off season, man, I just love going back through all 22, and I kind of figured out how to edit videos pretty well. And the big thing I figured out was how to get in-game highlights streamed and posted to Twitter pretty quickly. So during the preseason, a lot of my job is kind of just following around when the games are going on, keeping track of injuries and stuff. I also just like to watch them like anyone else. So I would kind of have a screen grab set up on my computer to, be recording whatever's on my screen, which would be a preseason football game. I see on Twitter a big play happens. I go to the football game. I get the video. I tweet it out. Basically, I was like, no one else is the Rob Perez of the NFL. Why can't I be that guy? So I was trying to get every highlight out there. And, hey, I was beating the NFL with a lot of them. They didn't take too kindly to that once the regular season came around. I had my little fun in the preseason. But after a strong week one of tweeting videos, got a suspension notice that NFL had flagged 5 of my videos, and I was suspended from Twitter. The problem, man, was that I didn't get a phone number or an email address from the notice. And Twitter doesn't have human support. So I was basically left in the dark for a week. I got so desperate, I started up that burner account you mentioned. And my boss, Adam Levitan, was basically like, all right, that's ridiculous. We're not giving away your Twitter account that easy. And luckily, Adam and some of my loyal Twitter followers who are all amazing were able to bitch enough to Twitter to get me back on. So I'm gonna get some more video going this offseason, and then if I get suspended again, I got a little more time to figure it out.
So it was basically like kind of a grassroots movement between the followers, the Twitter followers, and Mr. Levitan that was able to secure your Twitter account back for you. Is that true?
Yeah, that's what it seemed like, man. I mean, Adam sent out a tweet saying, how basically, has anyone been suspended before? Like you said, doesn't happen every day. And, people kind of gave us a little help. Pitching Ninja, that guy was very helpful. So shout out to him. But yeah, people were just like, oh, Twitter, at Jack, that dude that runs Twitter. Hey, get Ian Hartitz back in there. So much appreciated to all them. And, I wasn't on for week 2, but I think we've had a productive weeks 3 through 15. So I appreciate it to all my followers.
Very, very cool, man. Now, one other thing I've noticed about your Twitter skills, as I like to call them, now it seems like sometimes you are tweeting out stuff right when it happens. You know what I'm saying, man? Like something happens and bam, you got a tweet out there. So I'm wondering now, do you have certain tweets lined up ready to go if something happens during a football game? If let's just say Antonio Brown, he needs X amount of catches to reach a certain milestone. Do you have that kind of ready and you're keeping your eye on the ball game while it's going on, and then all of a sudden it happens and bam, you get it out there?
Every now and then, you're right, every now and then, but I think it's more, man, half of my job, the Fantasy Labs NFL Twitter, I'm sending out probably 75% of those tweets, or more 50% of those tweets. So, the way we're doing that, we're basically just following a tweet deck screen where you got 300 beat writers sending across every single thing that happens. So, really, whenever any news breaks, I more or less know about it, instantly, right when the beat writer does. So I think I'm pretty good at it, kind of quickly researching stuff, getting my thoughts together. And hey, man, when you're just grinding day by day, these stats kind of stick out to you, and hopefully you can just kind of remember them at the right times. But it's a war zone out there, man. There's so many interesting stats, and people are always jumping on them. So just trying to be the fastest at it, because I don't know, man. I know people say take it slow and everything, but being fastest is part of being the best. So that's what it's all about.
Well, I tell you what, man, the other day on the old Twitter, there was a story about a young man and a young lady, and, they were kind of in the beginning of their relationship. And then all of a sudden football season came around, and the man, he was no longer into the woman because he was on Twitter all the time and grinding the film and watching the all 22. And I was thinking, man, this might be Mr. Ian Hartitz. But then I said, you only had the dude only had 150 followers. Now we know you got over 9,000. Hump has 13 or 14. So we're going to get you 13 more after this show. And then you'll be on your way to 10,000, my friend.
Oh, Hump, you're doing better than that, man. I knew that 150 guy couldn't be you after reading that, but no, that was too funny, dude. The funniest part was someone posted one of the top comments. I think it came from Reddit, and the person was basically like, all right, first of all, football never ends. We got the draft, and we got off season, then we got more tape, and then the person was just like, this girl should just be happy her boyfriend doesn't have a more ridiculous hobby like Tinder or soccer. So I'm happy we can lump Tinder and soccer together as activities we don't want your boyfriend's doing. So too funny, man.
Yeah, that is high quality. Now, you have mentioned Mr. Levitan's your boss. Now, Hump kind of thinks of you. It's funny that you mentioned he's your boss, because Hump kind of thinks of you as a lesser known, maybe like a poor man's version, if you will, of Mr. Adam Levitan. Now, at what point here, what kind of time frame can we put on it when you have surpassed Mr. Levitan, not only in popularity, but you've taken over all his writing and podcasting gigs? I'm waiting for that. When's that happening?
I appreciate that, Hump. And you know what? That's what I'm going for. I'm going for Levitan. I'm going for the GOAT, Evan Silva. You know, if you're on trying to be number one in whatever you're doing, what are you doing? I mean, I was trying to be better than, you know, Adam at Twitter and everything back when I had, you know, 300 followers and I was starting off at Fantasy Labs. So, yeah, you know, he's the GOAT. He's him, and you know, I'm nowhere near those guys yet. Like you said, poor man's. I'm a homeless man's version of him right now. So I wouldn't go that far, but yeah, man, you know, you shouldn't accept just kind of, there was a good quote from Max Holloway, this UFC fighter, just won a championship. And he was just saying, like, I was a champion way before I got this belt. And I think all that means is just, you know, really carry yourself. Like, you know, they say dress how you want to dress for like the future job you want. Like, I don't know. I think dressing's overrated anyway. I'm not worried about that, but you know, just act how you think you need to act to kind of get where you need to go. And I think good things will happen too.
That's a good thing. That's a good thing. That's a good philosophy for a young fella like yourself, a young grinder to have, man. Now,
yes, sir.
We've already established here from my internet prospecting that you graduated from the University of Chicago. I believe you are a lover of Ohio State football. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. That's correct. Born and raised in Columbus.
There we go, big boy. And now also, like Mr. Levitan, I believe you are also a lover of dogs. Is that correct?
Oh yeah. I got one over my shoulder, I think, right now. He's back there. Yeah, he's laying down.
What's that dog's name?
Django. He's a half wiener dog, half Chihuahua. Had him since college. Just a little guy.
All right, man. You got to explain to me and the people what in the bananas. What in the bananas? What is going on in this?
Hold on. Hey. Yeah, the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Django. No, yeah, I was in a one sec. Yeah, man. So I was in a fraternity in college. We weren't one of these Southern fraternities, you know, where you're taking yourselves too seriously. It was more basically the football team. But yeah, I got this little dude and decided to take my picture with them, and now here we are in a podcast together. So. This is Django. He's about 6, and he's you know, he's a nice dog. I like him.
So, man, did you guys on the football team set up this doggy photo booth in the frat house or something? How did that photo transpire?
Well, here's the bad part about it. I took like 5 photos with him, and then the photographer goes, let's just get one without the dog. And sure enough, they used that one on the composite. So I ended up not even getting it on the actual composite we took, but I got the picture for, you know, Facebook back in the day and all that. So you did your research, Hump. You found some dirt on me. No one's brought that up for a while.
Hump if this is a very, very serious investigative interview show called Hump On One, so I have to do my research and find out about my guests. Now, all right, let's get to some serious stuff, Mr. Ian, because it's week 16 of the NFL, 2 more weeks in the regular season. Now, we've already established that you're tweeting out stats. You're looking at stats all day long. I've seen, I can't even count the number of statistics you already tweeted out this week alone. So I'm wanting to know for the people who are playing fantasy football, whether that's in their final week of the championship games and season long, or they're getting ready for the DFS, whatever it is, man, what is one of those things that you tweeted out this week that the people need to be paying attention to and that can help them be successful this week?
Yeah, man, it's one I sent out Monday. So I was looking at, when you're this late in the season, workloads are changing on a weekly basis. Guys are getting hurt. Guys get eliminated from the playoffs, and they decide certain players don't need to be run to the ground in meaningless games. So I just, every Monday after the games, I go back and I look at all the snap counts from every game and see, who's moving around, who's playing more, who's playing less. And so this week I kept track of every running back that played at least 70% of their team snaps. So these are 3 down guys. And look, we have your Christian McCaffrey, Saquon Barkley, Ezekiel Elliott, Todd Gurley, all those guys, obviously. But listen to these other running backs we had play at least 70% of their team snaps. Matt Breida, Jamal Williams, Alfred Blue, Justin Jackson, Melvin Gordon will be back, so whatever. Eli McGuire, Damian Williams, and Derrick Henry. I mean, I think we would have scoffed at any of those guys as recently as 2 or 3 weeks ago. If you look, Williams is only 5,400 on DraftKings. McGuire is only 4,700. Breda is only 4,200, season low salary, even though he just came off 22 touches. A lot of these guys, if Lamar Miller doesn't play, Alfred Blue is going to be available in most of your season-long leagues. And, yeah, Dante Foreman might be back, but he's set up for 15-plus touches. And, I mean, if you're in your championship game, you're probably not worried too much about trying to scoop one of these guys, but there are 3-down running backs priced way cheaper than usual this week, and a lot of them are still free agents in a lot of leagues. So just keep in mind on that, because they might not be the most talented guys, but it's way easier to judge workload than it is talent, and we got a lot of workload out there right now.
And we know volume and workload is king in fantasy football. You heard it here first from Mr. Hartitz, Mr. Ian Hartitz, Fantasy Labs, the Action Network. He does the matchup manifesto. He does the wide receiver cornerback matchups. He does all kinds of crazy stuff. You can find him there. Now, I like to end the Hump On Ones with a little rapid fire session. Okay. I call it favorite or underdog. I'm going to fire out something at you. Now, all you got to do is give me an answer one way or the other. You don't need to elaborate unless you find it necessary. You ready to go, my friend?
Let's get it.
Okay. Rottweiler or Jack Russell?
Jack Russell.
Urban Meyer or Woody Hayes?
I'm going to go Urban Meyer. All respect to Woody Hayes, but 7-0.
Wow, man, I'm a little shocked on that one, but I like it. I love it. Okay, old school generic beer or one of them fancified microbrew things?
Oh, give me that old school, man. Give me a nice cold Budweiser any day of the week.
Yes, sir. I knew you were a man of the all right, come on now. And then you want a college or an NFL tailgate party?
Let's go college. Although, yeah, I'm going college because I got to ride with my Ohio State fans. But I will say I was at a Bears Packers tailgate this past weekend, and them Chicago boys love their football. That was a good time.
I love it, man. I love the old college tailgate, man. That's the best thing going, I think, in sports right now. All right, Ian, I appreciate you coming on for this edition of Hump On Ones. Tell the people where they can find you.
Yeah, I'm Action Network, Fantasy Labs, Twitter. I'm iHartitz, IHARTITZ. Thank you again, Hump, man. This was a good time.
All right, man. I look forward to speaking to you again. Take care, brother, and Merry Christmas.
Hey, you too.